Okay, let's dive right into this because today we are looking at the absolute ultimate prehistoric mystery. I mean, we're talking about the greatest cold case in the history of our planet, the mystery of our missing human cousins. This explainer is going to walk you through exactly what the latest evidence tells us about a time when we were, quite literally, not the only humans on Earth. Think about it. There was a moment somewhere in our deep past when there was actually more than one kind of human walking the exact same landscapes. And we aren't just talking about different cultures here. We are talking about distinct biological lineages, separated by hundreds of thousands of years of independent evolution. Our Earth used to be crowded with intelligent hominins who used fire, who made complex tools, and who even buried their dead. But today, there's just one. Us. Homo sapiens. So, how did we end up totally alone?
Part 1. When Earth was crowded, meet the victims.
So, to really grasp the scale of what was lost, we just have to look at the incredible cast of characters that used to share our world. Obviously, you've got Homo sapiens, that's us, going global, but then consider the Neanderthals over in Europe and Western Asia. And by the way, we need to instantly debunk this whole idea that they were just primitive, grunting brutes. Absolutely not true. Their brains were actually as large as ours, sometimes even larger. They made these sophisticated Boosterian tools that required serious forward planning, and we even have fossil evidence showing they cared for their severely injured for months. Then you have the Denisovans spread across Asia, and of course the incredibly fascinating Homo floresiensis down in Indonesia, affectionately known as the Hobbit. They were all distinct, highly complex people.
Which brings us to Section 2. Did we kill them? Suspect number 1, direct violence. It's time to pivot to probably the most emotionally charged and definitely the most popular theory out there. It's a really dark hypothesis to confront, I know, but we have to ask the question, did modern humans commit prehistoric genocide? Think about the timeline. About 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens arrived in Europe in significant numbers. And then, shortly after, the Neanderthals disappeared. That stark, unsettling correlation repeats across regions. We arrive, they vanish. It is incredibly tempting to link those two events directly, isn't it? It certainly brings up some serious questions about our own ingrained capacity for violence.
So, the popular myth is this dramatic story of sustained, deliberate, continental war, a literal ancient genocide. But the fossil reality? It tells a completely different story. We actually lack a smoking gun. Yes, sure, there are Neanderthal bones with trauma, but trying to distinguish if that violence came from Homo sapiens, from rival Neanderthals, or just from an unfortunate hunting accident is genuinely difficult. There are exactly 0 concentrated sites of mass interspecies violence. The evidence for total war simply isn't written in the rocks.
Section 3. Disease, climate, and competition. The silent killers.
So if it wasn't an all-out war, what happened?
Well, the real suspects are much more insidious. We're talking introduced diseases, massive climate instability occurring right as Neanderthals were disappearing, which was roughly between 40,000 and 28,000 years ago, and competitive exclusion for resources. You really have to realize that a modern human didn't actually need to carry a physical weapon to bring absolute devastation to a Neanderthal territory.
Let's just step through the epidemiological dynamics here, because they're fascinating. Step 1. Homo sapiens arrived from Africa carrying novel pathogens they'd adapted to over millennia. Step 2. Disease-naive Neanderthals, completely isolated from these specific pathogens, face catastrophic mortality. Think of the well-documented historical analog of European contact with indigenous populations in the Americas. It's absolutely devastating. And Step 3. Unlike a spear wound, a fatal respiratory infection leaves essentially 0 trace in the fossil record.
Now let's look at this really fascinating ecological concept, competitive exclusion. It basically states that 2 species competing for the exact same resources in the exact same geographic area simply cannot stably coexist forever. Someone has to win out. And Homo sapiens had a few subtle but incredibly powerful advantages. We had larger, longer-range social trade networks, which offered better information and support during lean times. We also used projectile technology, like spear throwers, allowing for much safer long-distance hunting. We didn't necessarily kill the Neanderthals in head-to-head combat. We just quietly and consistently out-hunted and out-gathered them, pushing them into marginal territories until they just couldn't survive anymore.
And then, of course, we have Homo floresiensis, the island exception. The Hobbit survived on the tiny Indonesian island of Flores until about 50,000 years ago. But island dynamics made them acutely vulnerable. When modern humans showed up, they faced not just stiff competition for highly limited resources, but potentially introduced diseases as well, all compounded by the island's extreme volcanic activity.
When you're on a small island, competitive exclusion and environmental disasters happen much, much faster and way more completely.
Moving on to Section 4, the genetic twist. We didn't just kill them.
Okay, so the physical bodies of these ancient humans disappeared from the fossil record, yes. But here is where the story completely flips on its head. If you have ancestry from outside sub-Saharan Africa, somewhere between 1 and 4% of your genome is Neanderthal in origin right now. I'm talking about your DNA literally right inside your cells as you watch this explainer. This completely breaks the genocide theory. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that modern humans and Neanderthals interbred repeatedly across thousands of years, producing healthy offspring who survived and passed those genes all the way down to you. And this genetic twist gets even deeper when we look at the Denisovans, the phantom ancestors. This is the most mysterious extinct human species of all, and their entire story was radically rewritten by recent DNA extraction. The crucial point here really comes down to the number 2. See, for a long time, literally everything we knew about the Denisovans came from just 2 tiny fragments, a single finger bone and 1 tooth, found in a Siberian cave back in the early 2000s. I mean, contrast that near non-existent fossil record with the massive genetic legacy they left behind. Denisovan DNA is found in populations all across Asia and Oceania today, particularly in Aboriginal Australians and Papua New Guineans. This is exactly why those old theories fail. Think about it. Groups engaged in systematic, total mutual extermination do not produce viable offspring together, period. But interbreeding, it requires proximity. It produces surviving offspring. And, incredibly, it shares beneficial genes. Interbreeding actually gave modern humans actively beneficial gene variants for immune function, metabolism, and famously, high-altitude adaptations. That gene that helps Tibetan populations thrive in thin mountain air today, that is Denisovan biology actively working in modern humans right now. It's a real game changer.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the weight of survival, a messy, uncomfortable truth.
What the science ultimately reveals is that these ancient interactions were hugely varied. Sometimes they were hostile, sure, sometimes peaceful, and sometimes just a messy in-between. Mixed offspring were born, they survived, and they reproduced within our social groups. So the extinction wasn't some clean sweep. These other species were marginally absorbed into our own lineage as they physically disappeared. But here is the truly tragic part. The lived experiences of those ancient minds are irretrievably lost. The science tracks the genes perfectly, but the stones and bones remain totally silent on what those encounters actually felt like. Whether they were violent, consensual, or just a product of incredibly long coexistence, we will simply never know.
I want to leave you with this final, profound thought. The other humans are gone. We are here. The relationship between those two facts is the most uncomfortable question in the entire history of our species. For 500,000 years, there were other ways of being human on this planet. Now, only our lineage remains, carrying the ghosts of our cousins in our very DNA. Are those ancient genes a monument to their survival or a tragic reminder of their displacement? What does it really mean to be the last lineage standing? It's a question science can't answer for us, but it's one we absolutely have to ask ourselves. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.